It's time to communicate. This is Jackson 360. I want to speak with the Toastmasters officers. If you are an officer in Toastmasters, I want to have a quick locker room talk with you about how we have to play our officer roles, how we do it in the meetings as well as outside of the meetings, and how the growth of our club is very, very important. When I say our club, I mean your club and all of the clubs in general. Now, I'm speaking more from, it doesn't matter if you're a corporate club, community club, these same principles apply. I understand this before I get started. I understand that some clubs you're probably struggling and you don't have all 6 officers and you got people playing dual roles. I get that. So I'm going to speak with you, but I'm mainly talking to the people who have all of these bases covered. They have full officer roster, and how can we make the best from being an officer? So this is more of a training type of a conversation than it is anything else. So first and foremost, I think it's very, very important that we know if your club is not growing. Many times it leans back on the leadership. And so we cannot blame, guys. You cannot blame members. You cannot be blaming each other. We cannot be blaming anything. As a leader, you must take responsibility, and we must say, what can we do to make changes? And a lot of it goes back to, what is your position? What is knowing your role and responsibility and getting to, am I fulfilling my role and my commitment the best way? Do I need to get some help? Are people double working? So let's talk about that. So one of the biggest problems I've seen in Toastmasters is people do not have a clear, well-defined role. Sometimes people take these positions of being an officer because they just want to be recognized and want to be an officer, and they really don't know what they're signing up for. And this is a problem. Because if you don't know what you're signing up for, how are you officially doing it? I've seen people sign up to be the VP of public relations, and they have no experience dealing with the internet, the computer. They don't like talking and doing marketing, don't want to talk to people. But that's what public relations is. You're dealing with the public, you're marketing, you're advertising, you're letting people know what is going on in your Toastmasters group. So it's very important that you know what your role is. And different clubs, that role responsibility may slightly change. So it's up for you and your club to define that. Now, playing the role is very important. I want you to think about the game of baseball. Now, in baseball, there's many different positions. You got first base, second base, third base. You got people in the outfield. You got a pitcher, right? You got a catcher. Now, what happens is if the person on first base leaves first base and decides to start to play second base, or decides to say he wants to be the pitcher, the problem is now there's no one on first base. And this is what we do in Toastmasters a lot of times with the officers. I see many times officers try to do each other's roles, and now they're not doing their own roles. I've seen it many, many times. Where you may have, like for example, I've seen meetings where there's 5 different people trying to recruit one person, right? And that's bad. That's because if you're the VP of public relations or you're the VP of membership and your job is not to do recruitment, then you could be in conflict with the person who is the recruiter, right? And so now you're stepping on each other's toes. And if now no one is actually doing your role. So that's very, very, very important that you know your role and stick to it. So that way, if something's not getting done, you can specifically go to a person and see exactly, we can identify what the actual problem is. Because when everyone's playing all of each other's roles, it's hard to figure out what's working good and what's working not so good, because there's no foundation that's there, because you're all over the place. So it's hard to really track the results. So this is why it's important that everyone plays their role. Everyone keeps track of what's working in their role, keep a record of that, of what's working well. And then you can hand that record, that book, that notebook of this is what works in this position. You can then have your assistant, your committee who's helping you, and you can hand that over to the next generation of officers who fill that position or in that committee. So it's very important. Now, this is why you have this information, so now you can do your officers report. Now your club is in position to grow. When you know, hey, my job is to be, I'm just giving you some specific examples that I've been through. I've been the club treasurer, right? I know how the treasury works. Now, everyone should have an idea on what every position does, right? That's good. I think everyone should know treasury. Everyone should know VP of membership. All officers should have an idea, but all officers are not responsible for fulfilling the duty of that job just because you have an idea of what's going on. So I would be the treasurer, and many times at our meetings, my job was to explain to the guest, hey, this is what the cost will be. And in fact, it was my job to enroll because I was a really good recruitment person. So it was agreed that I was the recruiter, and I'm happen to be the treasurer, so I can help you fill out the application, get you going. But the problem is there would be other officers who would speak to the same guest, and they would then give them different information and talk about, hey, they would give them a different price than what I gave them. Or they would say, hey, you don't need to fill out your application now, you can go home and fill it out, which is a direct conflict from what I maybe either just told them or what I was about to tell them. Because my job is to recruit them and get them enrolled right now, not to wait 2 weeks because then they may not come back and fill out the application. So it's very important that we play our roles, because sometimes you don't always know why the officer's doing what they do, because they could have another goal that you are not aware of, right? You may see some officers that, again, as a treasurer, I may be intentionally trying to recruit people today for the purposes of getting dues collected so that we can pay for an upcoming conference that is due in 7 days to meet our deadline. If you don't know, you're telling people they can wait and go home, and now you're messing up the sales, which is making us not reach our goals. So this is very important that we know what our role is and stick to it. Help in if we're called upon. If I'm a treasurer and I'm saying, hey, I need your help, then that's different. Then you can come in. But if I didn't call and ask for your help, stand down and do what your job is. And I think all officers should be very well aware of that, and really set some clear goals that you're going to really stick to. I know a lot of this falls on the president's position, and so I am talking to club presidents in this talk, and I'm really excited that you're watching this video so that you can learn. So we want to set out clear goals. And it's great to go by the DCP point, distinguished club points, and become distinguished. That is your foundation. So go by that. That works. I'm just making sure that you have some sort of structure in addition to grow the club. And so this is when you want to have other things you can implement on a quarterly basis, where you want to have for example, you maybe want to do speech-a-thons every quarter. You may want to have some sort of community engagement event or an award ceremony or a holiday celebration. To do these things, you have to have people in place that know what their job is. And that way you guys can grow. This is going to grow where you can outreach and get into the community. But the only way we do that is by having a solid foundation of our officers playing their role. This is why it's important where every week, every other week, you can have some type of officer's phone call, or you can use an app like Zoom, or just do a conference call and maybe talk for 30 minutes, maybe every 2 weeks perhaps, where you guys go over your goals and every officer does a report, maybe once a month, and they just give a report. Hey, this is where I'm at for the month. Give every officer maybe 5 minutes and go through their report, old business, new business. Hey, this is what I need help with. I'm going to here is our bank statement, bank report. A lot of this stuff happens in the deck meetings. It should happen in your deck meetings, which is where all of the district officers meet. This is they have a good template and example. So reach out to your district officers and ask them more about how their meetings are going, and see if you can implement some of that in your actual club meeting in terms of the structure and how they go about covering stuff. So the reason why they grew outside of the district, then you can take that and grow within your own local club. So I'm hoping some of these things help. I'm going to make this video brief. My battery is actually dying right now. I want to talk a little bit longer. But if you like this video, I'll make a part 2. Just let me know. Put it in the description. Say, make a part 2, Jackson. I want to know more. Or ask me some specific questions. And I'll be happy to answer those. So I'll talk with you later. Subscribe to the page.